What's up, Climate Falls? This is Dave.
Hey, what's up, Klamath Falls? This is Mike, and we got another special edition for you. We once again have Kristy Gerlett on. Thanks for coming back on the show, Kristy.
Thanks, guys. What's up, Klamath Falls? I love saying that.
So, if you folks, if you've been following the story on our show and on our Facebook page, then you'll know what Kristy has been up against, the battles that she's been fighting, trying to get justice for her family and for her mom, and something that really nobody should have to go through. I made a statement last week that there was a little bit of progress in the case. And so I guess at that point is where I'm going to talk to you, Kristy. I know that there was indictments handed down to the mother-daughter duo, and
Yeah,
so I think of
long
it
time coming.
right. So I mean, it's some sort of progress, but I don't believe it's really all that it could have been as progress. I'd kind of like to get your take
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, so there was 14 indictments, 13 felonies, one misdemeanor, of course, for Christine Pereira, the daughter, and Renee Talon Pereira, the mother. And it was all focused solely on the fake will. So, as most of your viewers know, Renee Talon Pereira is the one that submitted the fake will, and the fake will gave her daughter 80% of the estate, 100% of all of the vehicles and big ranching equipment and some other things. So she was arraigned. Christine was arraigned, I believe it was Monday, and then Renee was arraigned yesterday. So they had arrest warrants out, and yeah, this week has been one of the busiest weeks between both of the arraignments and a lot of stuff I've been working on with the other investigation, and then of course media. So I'm just gonna sleep this weekend.
Good for you. Good for you. With that being said, our conversation uh, prior to recording, that it was all focused on the will, but nothing on stolen property or credit cards or any of the other things that went on. That's
Yeah, it was just on the will, so I mean, it's a start, right? It's a start, but clearly there still needs to be accountability for those credit card charges. And I know that KCSO is looking into that. They had the statements at the beginning of the year, so for 11 months, almost 1 year now, and still no. That investigation is still ongoing. The investigation into the stolen property is still ongoing. The investigation into the estate sale is still ongoing. The investigation into the horse trailer is still ongoing. So it's just, it's a lot.
it is. I feel for you. Just in covering the story and talking back and forth and understanding more and more what you're going through and the kind of person that you are. It's just a shame that you're having to deal with this. So I was excited
Well,
to begin
for
with. I was glad to see that there was some steps forward. I guess we could call them baby steps right now, but at least there's something going forward at this point.
well, for Christine's arraignment, of course, they both pled not guilty, which was expected. I really appreciated the judge, Judge Janney. She allowed me to speak both times, make a brief statement. She didn't have to do that. District Attorney David Scott was aware that I wanted to just address the court. Obviously, my family was hoping that they would have been taken into custody, and the district attorney asked for $50,000 of bail for both. They were not due to the issues with the jail, but that was the only reason. Um, but I just appreciated that even in that small little section, my mom and my family had a voice. What I was upset about, particularly with Renee's arraignment, um, I was going via Zoom, and I was reading a statement in part that my mom's cousin had wanted me to read. So I was kind of reading that and just focusing on the judge, right? But my one of my relatives was in the courtroom, and he had said that once Renee was told that she would be booked and released, that she turned around and looked at him and smiled and smirked. And I just thought that was so disgusting. And I'm really glad I didn't see that on camera.
Right. Just a complete lack of remorse.
Total lack of remorse, obviously lack of accountability. And, this has been 16 months now, right? This has
Right.
been 16 months since the notary first reported the fake will. It was turned in April of 2023. My mom passed away in February of last year. So this has just been so long, and I truly I don't just believe, I know that we wouldn't even be where we are today if it wasn't for my family's push for justice. And it shouldn't have to be that way. You shouldn't have to constantly call and email and ask why people aren't doing their job.
Right. Right. And that's the frustrating part. And kudos to you for having the willpower and the wherewithal to stick with this and push through. Because again, I mean, at the heart of the story is you lost your mom, and that's
Yeah.
traumatic enough. And then to have to push through all of this,
Yeah, pushed in the deep end for sure.
yeah, I mean, just to get some justice for it is just mind-boggling to me. And as a resident of Klamath County, concerning. I'm not going to lie. It's God forbid something were to happen to me or a loved one. So it's concerning.
hmm You know, I don't typically talk about the two women. As I said last time, they are who they are. Um, they're criminals in my mind. I have no doubt whatsoever. I know the evidence. I can't speak about the evidence, but you all will hear that come out in court. To me, it's the discuss with the sheriff's office, the Caber administration specifically, and worse than that is the way that I've been treated and continue to be treated, specifically by the sheriff's office. The district attorney's office communicates an email. The district attorney still refuses to meet with me. He will not speak on the phone with me. There is a victim's advocate now, but I mean, the treatment and the lack of empathy, understanding, compassion, especially because of how much time has gone by,
Right.
is just horrible. And I do feel for the residents of Klamath County. I'm just one case, and my case wasn't even a violent case. It's complicated, but there was no murder here. So if this is how me and my family are being treated a year and a half later, I can't imagine what other victims are going through.
Yeah, and I've got a few leads on some other stuff that we'll cover at another time, but you're not, I hate to say that I don't believe you're the only one, but unfortunately it
I
appears
know I'm not the only one.
to be the
I've had
case.
people reach out to me. I've had people tell me their stories. I've also received tips from residents on my case. So I've heard both. I've heard other stories of what people are going through as victims of crimes in Klamath County, and I've also had people, residents, reach out and be more helpful.
Well, I was just gonna say it's a shame that I get that we're short staffed. The jail, whatever, doesn't have enough room. If you look at the amount, we don't have high crime here. We really don't.
Right.
If you take in consideration what happened to you, the $2 million cash only, I'll say, but then to have the yard sale and everything else, that is a horrendous crime on one person. You would think that you have hope at some point with the maybe the credit cards coming in.
So there's a couple of, and I posted about this online, there's a couple of things that were said and written that I will never forget, ever. One is when I was told to pray for evidence. and the other was when I was told this is not a race.
Who told you to
I,
pray for
and that was
evidence?
in that and that was in writing. Detective Sergeant Ryan Caber told me to pray for evidence,
Pray
and
for evidence.
Lieutenant Lewis, yeah,
That's
and
pretty
Lieutenant
telling in
Lewis
itself.
wrote.
Wow.
I'm
I
not going
can
to go
say,
into the
as a resident of
conversations.
Klamath County, the people here are great. I mean, anytime I've ever seen anybody reach out for assistance on Facebook or whatever, there's usually an overwhelming response. If there's just
Lost dog.
lost,
And
yeah,
any,
or I recently had a friend pass away, and the outpouring of support for his family and friends. It's a great community. Um, we deserve to have that kind of support from the top down, though.
Well, what I was saying is Lieutenant Lewis had written an email that this is not a race. He's the one I would say that I communicate to most frequently, but that just goes ahead and shows you the complete lack of understanding. And something actually recently that really pissed me off was I had reached out to, well, not me personally. Well, at some point I did reach out to that person. But anyway, the bottom line is there was some discussions about resources, people that I could go to within the department that would be able to help. And this one individual said that they were told not to speak with me. And that was in writing through another county official. And as of now, that is being denied. And it's in writing. So I just,
So you're the
it's a
victim
lot.
of a crime, and they've been told not to talk to you.
This one person was told not to speak to me.
Wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow. I'm speechless.
That was told. That was put in an email to me about the other person. So I mean, this is not something that can be denied. This is in writing.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't even know what to say to that. I had no idea. That's ridiculous.
that's the Caber administration for you.
Well, I can't say I'm shocked, I suppose. So, unfortunately.
Now,
So,
again, the district attorney, he'll communicate in emails, but I can't even tell you how many times I've called the deputy DA. I have requested in-person meetings. I was given a little sliver of hope that there might possibly be one in the future, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, I get it. This is CYA time for everyone, right? They know they have a lot of eyes on them, and
right.
they know that I have been documenting things very well on my end. And so they might feel it's just kind of safer to communicate via email, but now we're on a merry-go-round where I'll ask a question and it'll just be dodged. Um, they pick and choose what they want to answer. They pick and choose what they want to say. And again, I don't know what's worse, the amount of time that's gone by or the treatment that happened before and the treatment that continues to happen. It just is very, very up and down.
Well, and even with the time going by, I mean, if it's a thorough investigation, I suppose good on them for doing that. If that's what's happening, that is no
It's
reason to not.
definitely not.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's definitely not. This
I
is
know I'm
they
playing
don't
devil's
have
advocate
yeah.
at best here.
No.
I'm just
No.
saying that, but if the least they could do is communicate
I
with
see you
you, if that was the
laughing.
case.
Please.
Well,
I
and
mean, the fake will. Yeah, I can't talk about it,
right,
but there are so many other things that have transpired, and it will come out the amount of work that I did versus the amount of work that they did. I can't talk about that right now, but
right,
again, that responsibility should never have been on me, ever. It should be on no one. It's the sheriff's job to make sure that his detectives and his deputies are investigating. And I understand, and I've said this before, I get it. They're understaffed, they have a lot going on. But again, I don't want to hear that. No one in my family wants to hear that a year and a half later because they were offered assistance and the DOJ offered to take the case over. This is not like opinion, this is fact.
right.
And they said they didn't need the help. So which one is it? You guys are so good that here we are with only an indictments on one part of the case, or you still need more time? It's so frustrating. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
I get it, and I appreciate where you're at with it. And again, I did reach out to them to try to get a comment. I went to the sheriff's office, gave them my information, told them why I was there, and I was told I'd get a call back, but same story for me too. They would never reached out to me. So, I'd love to hear from them. I'd like to. There's two sides to every story, and I'm not doubting you whatsoever, but I would love to hear their input on it, and I don't think I'll ever get that. So,
Sorry.
yeah, no,
I think if there was true leadership in that department, they would have acknowledged there were a lot of things, there were a lot of mistakes that were made. I'm sorry that this took so long. We understand your frustration. We understand where you're coming from. This is where we're at. This is where we a timeline. This is where we anticipate. But you're going to send an email and say this is not a race.
yeah,
That's what you're going to do, and then say how understaffed and busy you are when we know what transpired with DOJ and OSP. And then I call and I call and I call,
and
and then we request a meeting.
that's the part that seems
Yeah.
almost inexcusable. Is you've had two other agencies that have reached out to them
Yes.
offering help, and they've declined it both times, or both agencies, and that it, it just doesn't seem acceptable.
Well, for Oregon State Police, Detective Sergeant Ryan Caber had said, you either take the case over fully or we keep it. He knew, and I knew because I had talked to Oregon State Police, that they said that they would be willing to start with like an assistance, right? They don't just like come in and take over the case.
Right.
But I had I had multiple conversations with the DOJ, excuse me, one of which was long, and the impression they got was that the KCSO was in a good place. So here we are in November of 2024, and that is fantastic that we have indictments over a year later and arraignments over a year later on one portion of the case. One portion.
Right. Yeah. Hard to understand. So
And they're
where?
walking free. Like this is the thing. In Klamath County, you can be arraigned and indicted on 13 felonies and go home. Get a
Right.
manicure, maybe get a massage. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I have no idea. But
Oh, two,
that's how bad it is.
$2 million. They're probably living pretty well. I'm sorry. I mean, that's
Well,
sarcasm on my
they
part.
didn't get it's okay. They didn't get like $2 million cash.
I
The
I
estate
get
was
that.
worth $2 million. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I get that. It's still it's no more ridiculous than the other things though that are getting the way everything has been processed. I felt like that statement was no more ridiculous than how you've been treated so far. So,
Well, and even with the arrest warrants, well, I'm not gonna talk about it.
yeah, I
Well, and
get that.
that's what I was going to
It
say
wasn't
too.
a priority.
You were told that it's not a race. Well, meanwhile, that money that they were access to is just running down like I don't know, sand.
Like an hourglass.
Yeah, like an hourglass. And yeah, it is a little bit time sensitive. I mean, the more time they have with it, the more it's horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they had access to her finances for, I believe it was 5 months, 5 or 6 months,
Wow.
somewhere around there.
Well, not to
And
mention
I think this is a part of the story that doesn't get talked a lot about is right when my mom passed away, Renee Talon had said, I have your mother's 2018 will, which is where her signature was pulled from to be used on the fake one. And so for the first, over 2 months, Renee Talon was acting as PR per the 2018 will that was never filed with the courts. She just filed the fake one. And there's been a couple different stories of the origination of who found what when it came to the fake will, but I mean, it's you can't make it up. It's just insane.
right. So where do we stand today? What do you anticipate is going to happen in the future now?
Well, I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of discussions. There's going to be lots of pre-trial conferences. I'm sure they're going to come to the table and talk about some plea deal, which I understand is a part of the process. Thankfully, my family and I have somewhat of not a say, but the district attorney's office should be reaching out to my family and talking about that. And I did let the victim's advocate know that that is something that my entire family would, wants to have an in-person meeting about and have that discussion. But I don't think that these women are going to confess, and then that would lead us to a trial, which could be a whole year from now. But I am very confident. So either way, I know that in the end, justice will be served. It's going to be a long road, but I think people could tell I'm pretty gritty and I'm ready for it.
Well, and time is ticking on the old administration. I mean, either way you look at it, you're going to have a new sheriff. So at some point, either candidate, I think, would have enough common sense to turn it over, especially on the credit cards. The other activities and get them on everything that they're due for. I mean,
To either turn it over or to step up the game and actually get the ball rolling
right,
internally on it. One or
right.
the other, you'd hope.
Or just be transparent. Like,
Right.
this is our opinion on this. This is kind of where we're at. Like, just be transparent about it. This is not complicated. I mean, I've done a lot of research on my own into the credit card charges and a lot this week in particular. And every time, oh, I'm trying not to get emotional, and I know that I can't talk about it right now, but it's just repulsing to think about uh, someone knowing that this my my mom's credit card account was just charged over and over and over again. And here we sit 11 months after the statements were turned over. And the investigation isn't even complete, let alone charges filed.
Well,
And everyone's like, yeah.
and the frustrating part is you don't really know where the investigation is because nobody's talking to you.
Um,
Or do you
I
have it?
mean, they give me a little bit of they give me some crumbs here and there
Yeah.
because they're probably tired of me being annoying. It's still unacceptable, and I look forward to seeing the actual reports. That way, I can compare what they have been telling me they're doing, what they told DOJ they were doing, and then what they were actually doing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Because it can't be all true at the same time. Like,
Right.
it can't. Not in November 2024.
Well, and it seems pretty. I don't want to speak bluntly. It seems pretty reasonable or pretty. Once a person dies for the credit cards, I mean, anybody can provide a death certificate or something like that. This person's dead. Can we close the account? Has that been resolved at least? I mean, are those cards still open or
The cards aren't open anymore.
okay?
No. But they were used for months after her death. For months.
I I get that. I didn't mean to dissect it that much, but it seems to be.
No, no, no.
It should be pretty easy to like, hey, it's gone. Can we close this out, please? Yeah.
Well, and at that, I don't know. Is there anything else, Christy, that we're not covering or talking about right now that you'd like to, or is it a matter of just
So I did want to thank again. I know that I sound like a revolving door here, but again, I have received tips and people reaching out to me and just very kind words. Um, Somebody saw one of the posts and stories in the state of Washington, uh, Klamath County residents. I can't thank these people enough because, again, never met them. They didn't know my family, and they're just stepping forward and trying to help and trying to do the right thing just on principle alone, just on principle alone. And how do you thank a complete stranger for being a light when you're going through such a dark time?
Right. Right. No, like I said, there's some really good people here, and it seems like anytime there's something that somebody's going through, people are more than happy to reach out quickly as a community, and so I'm proud of that as a Klamath Falls resident. That
Yeah.
you know, there's great people here, and that's one of the reasons I do this show and why I love the community is there's some great people here, and um, it's good to acknowledge that. So
When I just
Yeah,
want to
thank you so much.
say thank you to you as well because you kind of reached out to Mike more than myself, but you needed a platform. I mean, he came to me with this, story, first, and I'm like, and I started digging into it. I'm like, yeah, she needs somewhere to
a voice.
get the story out. I mean, get some traction. So, thank you. I know it's not easy for you, but thank you for telling your story. I mean,
And for
Well,
entrusting us with it.
when I first saw Mike's comment on Facebook, an invite, I wasn't really sure because it didn't seem like anyone was interested in your area. And uh, then I looked into you guys, and it just felt very comfortable. And I gotta say, you do stories that people don't want to do stories on, and I respect that. As a journalist, as a human being, there's a lot to be said for what you guys do. And I know, Mike, you tried to attend the arraignment, so you tried.
I did. I was denied and told that they would not allow any video recording in there. And then I guess if I had ABC on my business card instead of Big Rooster Media, maybe I would have had a shot. But the ABC News guy apparently got in there, but not me. But that's all right. We're new. We're growing, and
Well, there'll be plenty more court dates to come. Trust that.
someday they'll know who I am. But
Well,
no,
thank you guys again for so much.
yeah, and we appreciate you and again entrusting us with your story. That means a lot, and we appreciate that, and we're happy to share it and get the word out there because it needs to be out there. So,
Thank you.
well,
Hopefully, we'll
definitely
have
reach
some good
out.
updates next month.
pardon me.
Next month, when I'm there in person, we'll have some good updates. Hopefully.
Well, and
Awesome.
that's what I was just going to say. If you have any more between now and December, definitely reach out. But yeah, look forward to getting you into the extravagant cabin in December.
We've got an extra chair here for you, so we're ready.
I'm not taking the Pendleton, guys.
Fair enough.
Can't do it. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Kristy, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye bye.